When asking average people questions about microplastics and plastic in the ocean, it was quite clear and outstanding to realise how little people knew about this part of our environment. Microplastics in particular are a danger that not many know about. Do you know what microplastics are?
No.
Nope.
No.
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 Microplastics are less than 5 millimeters of scale and are present everywhere across the aquatic environment. Up to 100,000 particles have been recorded in a single litre of water in some industrial areas, keeping in mind that these are higher than the microplastics found in water generally. It has been estimated that there is approximately 7,000 to 35,000 tonnes of floating microplastics in our aquatic environment. Microplastics come from a variety of sources, including from larger plastic debris that degrade into smaller and smaller pieces. There are secondary microplastics which arise from the breakdown of larger plastic waste such as plastic grocery bags, product packaging, fishing equipment, fibres from clothes washed out by the washing machine, and much more. Do you know how long it takes for plastic to degrade?
A very, very long time.
23 hours?
I would guess 7 years if I had to.
I heard that, but I can't quite remember. A long time anyway.
2 years.
50 years?
And do you ever think that you could be consuming plastic?
Yes.
And does that scare you?
It does, because it gets inside fish and then you eat the fish and the microplastics in there.
Unless it's me breathing and chewing gum, yes it does.
It should scare me, yes.
And how much microplastic do you think is inside of salt?
I don't know.
None?
Probably lots.
Unknown to many people, the consumption of microplastic by humans is extremely common, and instances of this are on the rise. A massive contributor to the human consumption of microplastics is salt. In fact, for the average person who follows a recommended 5 grams of salt intake per day, they will ingest around 1,000 particles of microplastic in a year. This stems from the statistics of there being about 550 to 681 particles of microplastic to every kilogram of salt on average. On top of this, humans also ingest about 4.8 billion pounds of seafood per year. This means that we are consuming massive amounts of plastics as well, through the marine animals having eaten microplastic particles, which have then made their way up the food chain and into human consumption. How much plastic do you think ends up in the ocean every year?
Lots of it, because I've seen Plastic Island and there's a whole island floating around of plastic. So there's tons and thousands and millions of tons of plastic ending up in the ocean.
Too much.
I don't know, a few tons?
Too much.
These microplastics, which end up in the ocean, float with the tides and currents and eventually accumulate into huge zones, or gyres, of floating plastics. There are 5 massive plastic gyres which have polluted the ocean for decades. In addition, microbeads, a type of microplastic, are very tiny pieces of manufactured polyethylene plastic that are added as exfoliants to health and beauty products, such as some cleansers and toothpastes. However, they often serve no purpose other than decoration, but are used widely for their relatively cheap price. These tiny particles, only as large as 5 millimeters and sometimes invisible to the naked eye, easily pass through water filtration systems and end up in the ocean and Great Lakes, which then become almost impossible to remove due to their size. This poses a potential threat to aquatic life as microbeads attract toxic substances and transfer up the food chain as they do not disintegrate.
Don't just clean, deep clean and invigorate your skin.
Microbeads aren't only used in cleaning products, but also personal care and cosmetics as well. Even some of the trusted brands, such as Johnson's and Dermalogica, contain microplastics in their products. The impact of microplastics on the marine environment has received significant attention from regulators internationally, and to prevent further issues, many countries are banning the manufacturing of microbeads, such as Netherlands, Austria, Belgium, and United States.
President Obama signed a bipartisan bill to phase out microbeads.
President Barack Obama has committed to ban the manufacture of microbeads this year, and the sale of the products containing them by mid-2017. Many other countries have implemented measures to reduce the number of microbeads reaching the environment, such as Canada, who published proposed regulations which will extend the range of possible tools that can be used by the federal government to reduce the release of microbeads into the environment. When it comes down to it, this mass microplastic pollution in our oceans is a problem we as an entire society have to accept and live with. We can try our best to help with government and business action and banning certain products. However, it has reached a point of no return. We now have to live in our plastic world.